OnTableTop have teamed up with Games Workshop, Cyanide Studio, and Focus Home Interactive to bring you the very exciting Space Hulk Tactics Hobby Challenge. All you have to do is come across to OnTableTop.com, create a project, anything related to Space Hulk. It could be a story, painting project, or whatever you can imagine. And you could be in with the chance of winning the great Space Hulk Tactics video game and an actual copy of Space Hulk 3rd Edition. We have a load of prizes, a load of categories. Come across and check it out. In this week's show, we're asking the question, Kill Team Commanders, Marvel or a mistake? Stay tuned for that one. As well as that, we're going to be giving away 2 copies of this bad boy. And if you want to be in with the chance of winning it, well, get involved in the show. You can help us out by posting your comments and your views. And remember to click like and subscribe. And finally, remember to ding our dong. That's the little bell beside the subscribe button, and these days the only way you can be guaranteed to actually see our stuff, because anything with the word war in it now gets suppressed, even when you're talking about toy soldiers. Right, get involved, help us out, let's get stuck in. Welcome once again to the show, guys. We have a jam-packed tour of all of the tabletop gaming goodness of this week. So if you want to stay on top of everything that's happening, you have come to the right place. I'm joined by Ben on the screen. I have Justin in the chair and Sam in the chair.
Hey.
And we're kicking off with our conversation. Kill Team Commanders. This is it. And we want to know, Marvel or mistake? And when you are commenting in this episode, if you're commenting about this, please do me a favor and put the word either Marvel or mistake in it, because I want to bring out the Kill Team cat once again.
Every time you talk about a Kill Team cat, I just imagine like a cartoon black cat with a bionic eye.
Oh, he is the Kill Team cat. Yeah. He knows only truth. So you know how we like to keep things utterly scientific on this show. So the Kill Team cat, we'll bring him out next week. And we'll see what your opinions are, because as much as your individual opinions matter to us, what the Kill Team cat says goes. Right, Ben. Mm-hmm. We have the Commander expansion for 40k Kill Team, and it's a lovely looking product. I've got to say, I can't open it for you on here, but we've had to dig through this, and it is without doubt a lovely, lovely product. There's no getting away from that, and it's part of a whole set of really interesting products that we can show you just right now on the screen. But so will we show off just what you get as part of this expansion, Ben, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we think.
Yeah. So I believe as what's included in the expansion boxes, you get the rulebook to help you sort of set up a whole bunch of different commanders, and then you get all the bits and bobs that you need to keep carrying it forward. Now, this is an interesting thing sort of going ahead with this, because Games Workshop are also going to be doing a little bit like what they've done with some of the other sets that came out before this, where they're going to be producing a whole bunch of pre-made sets for you to create characters to use in your games. Now, with the time we wrote the news story, they had only shown off some of the Imperial commanders, but there's also a bunch of Xenos commanders as well thrown into the mix too. So for all the different factions that are out there, you'll be able to pick up a commander, use it in your forces, and bring it to the tabletop, and play out things with a little bit more of a cinematic hero at the front of your kill team, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's I've got to say now, it's kudos to the designers, because they've brought out the box and they've done a big range of models there, and the sculpts are, once again, they are fabulous.
I believe there are previously existing sculpts, but they are beautiful models. The Primaris Librarian may be one of my favorites of their character pieces. If it's at the top of that range,
what is it?
The Primaris Librarian.
This guy?
That guy, I love him.
Yeah.
Space Wolf?
He is a Space Wolf, yes.
Nice. I suppose the question begs to be asked, though, is why? Let me try and frame this, okay? So for me, Kill Team, it was always kind of like an isolated everyman's kind of world in 40k, because 40k has enough hero hammer in my humble opinion, if you're looking for hero commanders and stuff like that, that all existed in the main game of 40k anyway. And one of the things that I've always quite liked about KillTeam was the fact that it was kind of your everymen that were in it.
It's about Joe Average, basically.
Yeah. And I do wonder, obviously, like anyone, you could turn around and say, well, hang on, what you talking about? Just if you don't want to use commanders, don't use commanders. But equally, as a community, when something like that comes out, it is an official adjustment of the meta. It starts to shift the meta. So you can take a stance and say, well, look, I'm just not using them.
Yeah, but if you go to an organized play event, you're not using them. Everyone else says. Does that put you at a disadvantage?
Even that, there's always a thing that you don't have to use it. But whenever it shifts the meta of a game, I think it's a conversation worth having.
Yeah,
I'm just not sure that it was necessary, and it kind of feels a bit like a product for a product's sake.
It answers a question that Games Workshop have to ask themselves with KillTeam, though. How do we keep people playing and buying more stuff? That's what this answers for them, because it's a new level to the game that they're offering people, and that's what it's aimed as.
See, I think one of the options for people, for them to Games Workshop to look at when it came to sort of how we're going to keep people buying it, was kind of a little bit, because it's so open source in terms of the way that you can design a kill team, because you've got the entire roster basically to pick from, and then of course you've got those links into all the different factions that are available. It might be one of those things where you play as Space Wolves for one part of a campaign, and then you go, you know what, I'm going to go and pick up some orcs and play an orc one instead. And I think that's what I would have liked them to have done, as their sort of like, this is how we're going to keep you invested. Commanders is a little bit against that, in my view. I tend to sort of sit on your side of the road on this one, Warren, where it's a little bit more like, well, when I was playing KillTeam back in the day, I liked it that it was like my little tiny guardsman with the heroes, not some big commissar coming in to like wave his stick around and stuff. But yeah.
Now, from a narrative standpoint, Commanders does actually bring in some interesting options for the games, I think. I mean, on the one side, the thing I also really like about KillTeam is watching your regular guys develop into heroes, watching everything grow and change. But bringing in commanders lets you up the ante for some of your narrative play. It could be those scenarios where the commander and his team are forced onto the front lines, trying to fight their way to safety. I'm just thinking of that Harrison Ford movie Air Force One, where the president grabs a gun here.
Yes,
moments like that, or with even in the 40k lore, you've got units like Colonel Schaefer and his Last Chances. So you've got a characterful unit there, but led by a commander character.
So is it a case, you think, then, because like all these characters already exist in 40k? It's not like we had any limitations. We could just go and play 40k if we want to get our heroes and heroes out. But do you think that this is a case of them saying, look, there are other interesting units within the 40k universe, and we want to try and give you some way of experiencing them within that smaller, tighter kill team?
Well, a lot of the Black
it's going
Library...
to push the points cost up, isn't it?
But a lot of the Black Library books that you'll read, it's a hero and a group of guys. I'm listening to the Caiaphas Kane audiobook at the minute, and it's him and a squad of guys going through these horrendous missions and stuff, trying to survive. So having that on the tabletop, honestly, whenever I first saw KillTeam, I kind of missed that there wasn't commanders in there. I wanted commanders in that core set.
The thing for me, though, was that when you developed your KillTeam, even at the start of this new version of it, one of your guys was the leader, and he was that Caiaphas Kane. He was the colonel. He was Ironhand Schaefer or whatever. He was, Gaunt of Gaunt's Ghost. You didn't need to have someone coming in with a champion character that's kind of been made in a different way. Now, I will say that the mechanics behind the heroes are kind of cool. Like, I like the way that they've done this almost branching skill tree thing, so that you can make, for example, if two people are playing Primaris, one guy can have a commander character that goes off in a stealthy direction. One person can have someone go off in a much more bloodthirsty, like, frontline thing, which is kind of cool. So it kind of works into the whole idea of chapters and the different factions within the larger sort of armies in 40k. But then again, I'm like, yeah, but do I really want to play that? I'd prefer to still have my little bunch of ragtag guardsmen led by this really hapless commander who has kind of lucked his way into command.
Yeah.
And he's now like stepped up to the plate, and he's like, guys, I'm in charge.
I think what makes KillTeam special is not what's similar about it to what's to 40K, but it's what's different about it to 40K. It's like, so for example, the skill trees, okay. I think is a very effective piece of game design. There's no doubt this is a beautiful product, and it's a product that's it's like, I'm not suggesting it's a lazy product by any stretch of the imagination. A lot of work has went into this. Even if the models are repacks, with everything else that goes on, it takes a lot of time to do this. But the skill trees could have been just as effectively introduced into KillTeam as a module for expanding KillTeam as part of a campaign, for example.
To kind of make you do a lot more like bits boxing and kit bashing and add to that hobby side of thing as well. Because if your guy starts to upgrade a bit, you change the way that his character looks. You make him look a little bit more stealthy. You make him look a little bit more like bloodthirsty and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, but Games Workshop will want you to buy the products from this. They're a company that needs to make new stuff and keep people in.
I understand.
I think this is a good thing.
I'm not disputing. I'm not disputing in the slightest that the company shouldn't make products. I'm a collector. I love companies that make products. I want them to do it, but it's also about choosing the products carefully that they make, because you can through something like this, inadvertently change the complexion of a game. We've talked a little bit the same though, but we've talked in many over many years about things like power creep. Now suddenly, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but could we end up finding kill teams all over the world now are not effective unless they have a commander in it?
Well, again, if I may point to the story side of things, you were saying we've got 40K, the larger scale 40K for if people want to use these commanders. They're telling a different story. That's them leading an army. This allows you to bring the camera in close and tell the story of them on different missions, on specialized missions. Because in 40K, it's rare that your commander character is a lead from orbit directing the troops kind of person. They're usually in the thick of it. And I could see some interesting narrative campaigns coming from this.
So you think, Sam, that it's an opportunity to explore a facet of the 40K universe in a different way than what we would normally experience it. So, a commander done this way is going to feel different, is going to have a very different experience for me as a gamer as taking exactly the same commander, because they are the same commanders.
We will have a flip side to it, that anyone who hasn't took a commander, well, they have all the points that commander would have cost to put into other guys. Who can just have more guys on the table than the opponent.
We know that points only count for so much.
True, but
points in themselves don't guarantee a balance.
True.
It's the synergies and things like that.
You
commander
get horde forces versus more elite forces.
But I understand, but that will only work for certain armies. There are always those. We have witnessed Hero Hammer. And the shift in the meta many times in the past.
Can one guy make that much a difference?
Yes, one guy can. And we saw it in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, where was it Von Karstein? Von Karstein was incredibly powerful. Sorry, Ben, I'm talking over you, man.
That's right. I was going to say it did definitely make a difference in Warhammer 7th edition with my dwarf army, where I could have my dwarf lord basically hold up an entire unit by himself. So,
yes, and do you remember, what did you call the dwarf lord who just hammered on the stone? And,
Thorbrick?
Thoric Ironbrow.
Thoric Ironbrow. There because it's not about that character's own stats. It's about the synergies and the buffs that character can then start to apply.
On such a small scale, activations are incredibly valuable. If I can get more activations than my opponent, I can throw more fire at him, do more damage.
But equally, no, you cannot talk. But equally, on the small scale, there's almost like less room for error. Do you know what I mean? If a synergy has a big effect, it might have. You might witness more effect at that smaller scale than necessary.
Those guys who are just getting those activations, getting that consistent damage in, I think that's a hell of a leveler in this style of game.
Yeah. But can I just, as a Harlequin player, I hope they bring out a Harlequin commander, because one of the great downsides of Harlequins, they're an incredibly elite force in KillTeam.
You mean other than the fact they look stupid, yeah?
They are awesome. There isn't one listed there. I already checked.
No, there's no Harlequin in there.
No,
the Harlequins,
Dark Elder one, I think.
Yeah, the Harlequins in KillTeam, all I have to choose from is a basic troop.
Yes.
I don't have a Grand Harlequin. I don't have a Death Jester. I don't have
Are
Solitaires.
Harlequins a completely separate faction within KillTeam?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're their own faction in 40k as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Yeah, they've been their own faction for quite a while. Hence why I have an
They're
army.
very specialized.
But
they're the one army that, and we have discussed this on a weekender in the past.
Yeah.
That a bunch of jesters flouncing around in their checkered suits do nothing for me.
I absolutely
literally
love
love
them.
them.
I love them.
Well,
But,
just so you know, Sam, there are rules within that book for you to play as a troop master, a shadow seer, and a death jester.
Yeah,
so there
Shadow
are some
Se-
coming out, which is cool.
That is what I wanted to hear, because now I can really bring a more unique character from just, this is another Harlequin troop person. This is another Harlequin troop person.
You
They
can
were
never
all
say
the
that
same.
about a Harlequin because they're so fabulous. Spinning and somersaulting all
but
over the place.
I would love to have a kill team led by a death jester, because they are the most sarcastic bastards on the battlefield. They applaud people for, look, they're charging us.
I need to lend you Atlas Infernal, Sam, whenever your reading pal isn't so big.
Is Atlas Infernal a good book? Yeah.
It's a Harlequin book following an Inquisitor who got trapped in the Eldar Black Library. So within the 40k universe, there actually is a Black Library.
Yes, I know
which is
that,
where
yes.
the Eldar keep all forbidden knowledge that they see as too dangerous.
Yes.
Follows an Inquisitor running from the Harlequins, who are the defenders of the library, because he was there and stole a book that he shouldn't have had.
Oh.
So it's him jumping into webways, because this book's telling him where there's ways to get into the webways and get away from everything, and it's just a really nice.
Sounds like
novel.
Time Bandits. Follow the map. Follow the map.
It's really nice.
That would,
But
I think 100% of 40k lore would be improved with the inclusion of time bandits.
so for you, this is a big plus then.
Yeah, for me, it is a big plus.
You'll get to, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Our players going to look at this and say, well, actually, it unlocks something for me that I was missing. My own personal initial take on it is I worry, yeah, it might do that, but I also worry that what it does is it changes the complexion of the meta on a game that already was very, very good in many respects. And I'm with Ben on this. I would have liked to have seen more kind of like a tech tree campaign kind of things
that would
going
be.
on.
I would love it if I could have one of my base troop. I know this kind of goes against the fluff of the Harlequins, but I would love it if I could see one guy develop and take on the new role, become a death jester.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be very interesting, to see your characters or some of your soldiers within your kill team develop into characters. Rather than us necessarily now just planting characters into it. And in terms of the product, if it came down to a repack for expediency's sake, repack more terrain in there, it's, or something like that.
They did a really nice job on the terrain set that came out with KillTeam. For me, this one's a marvel.
Well, always happy to see more.
This one's a marvel for me on the tactical level, because I think it's going to add a greater depth to the game for players to try building different things.
Ben?
I was just going to actually say that in a completely unrelated point in some ways. I really, really like what Games Workshop have done with KillTeam as a whole. I think it's a great idea. It's been getting a lot of people into 40k. I would love them to do something similar for Age of Sigmar. Now, I know there's, I believe there's like a skirmish level version of the game you can play, and of course you've got Warhammer Underworlds. But there was a game that came out as part of a White Dwarf years and years and years ago, and it's kind of been sort of redone a little bit through supplements by Black Library and things. It was called Path to Glory.
Oh yeah, that was a great one.
And this was where you took a Chaos Champion and you gave him his Chaos Warband, and you basically just battled it out until you became like basically a freaking demon.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Oh,
I would love to see them bring that back for Age of Sigmar. Use some of those amazing plastic models that they're done for the different champions. Slanesh is coming back very soon as well, so you're going to have 5 of the gods now, because you've got the Hornrat too. Have them all thrown into the ring and have some interesting stuff going on there.
Well, maybe I'm thinking about this all wrong. Maybe KillTeam is the ultimate packaged slow grow league.
Maybe.
It could well be. Yeah.
Maybe KillTeam is a case of, it's your first foray into 40k. Because I'm looking at as someone who has played 40k. I have a few 40k armies. So, but if I'm looking at this as someone new coming in, I've built up my first kill team. I'm now adding a commander. Maybe a kill team will then move into, well, here's a vehicle that can be used, and maybe it is potentially one of the most highly effective slow grow challenge leagues that you could potentially get into.
We'll have to wait for the next big wave release, the next version of this, maybe.
Well, you see, that's what I think the Commander's expansion effectively is trying to do. It's giving you this idea that you've played as your kill team for a really long time. Here's the commander for your force that now kind of bridges the gap. Maybe in the kind of fluff you're building for your kill team, he's come from the larger armor and he's like, right, you guys are my veterans now. I need you to come join me in the real battle. And that's where they're like, hey, if you play this game called Warhammer 40,000 properly, come and play this and, expand your armies and add vehicles in and stuff. Yeah. Because then you could I assume this is what they'd want. They'd want you to take your kill team and transplant it into a larger army and be able to build a story from there, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's whatever way you look at it, whether you agree with it or not, it's a beautiful product, and it opens a lot of potential. Now, at the moment, I don't know. I'd set out on the show as usual. I'd set out on the show thinking this was a mistake. Now I'm not so sure. I'm on the fence.
I think it's a Marvel take.
It's a begrudging mistake for me.
Yeah.
100% Marvel for me.
Right, well, so Marvel for Justin.
Marvel take.
You're on the fence.
Yeah,
I'm on the fence.
As I said, I much prefer that down with the grunt troop style of kill team. But I can now bring Shadow Seers and Death Jesters in. This has opened up my game.
They have bribed you beautifully.
Yeah, they bought me. They bought me.
Well, this is it. Guys, over to you. Kill Team. Marvel or mistake? What are your thoughts on this? Are you worried that it starts to shift the beautiful core of the game and potentially shift the meta of the game into areas that maybe we didn't want to go? Maybe we wanted to keep it with that slightly more purist look at the individual rank and file soldiers rather than getting into the heroes? Or are you on the side of, well, actually, no, this is a big part of the whole 40k story, and this is a new way for everybody, new players and old, to experience these characters and commanders in different ways than what we've been able to date. I don't know. Post below. Right. Let's get. Oh, and remember,
I was wondering when you get to this.
Lance has me fine-tuned to remind. We are giving away 2 of these. Okay. If you want to be in a chance of winning that, it's very easy. Get involved in our discussion. Post a comment below. Remember to hit subscribe and remember to hit like. And beside that subscribe button, there is a little bell icon. If you like what we do on a Saturday and you want to be notified of it, please do help us out and click that bell. We're at a certain amount of disadvantage in the wargaming community these days, because we have noticed that whenever we include tags like war and stuff like that, that our reach dramatically goes down. We've included beer last week, and we think beer triggered somebody. YouTube is also reading the captions, the auto-generated captions of a show. So the very fact that we talk about war just puts it at a disadvantage. YouTube's very sensitive to all of that. So we have been researching this for some months. I'm not sure how we're going to fix it or how we're going to get around it, but you guys can help by commenting, liking. Do you know what? If you could share our videos just with some of your buddies, just to remind them that we're on, that would be a big help in the transition period while we rethink this whole thing, and I'm potentially going to split things up and do things in a different way, because I think we've got to the stage where you can no longer mention war. We just have to refer to everything as miniature gaming. Which is a real pity, because last week's episode, if you didn't see it, was great. We had some really interesting discussions on some Second World War stuff, and unfortunately, because of the amount of war in it, it got penalised as usual. Pain in the That's ASS YouTube if you're listening.
Pain in the donkey.
Yeah, their transcribing doesn't work so good.
In other updates, we have opened our shiny new prize center.
Ta-da!
Da-ding! we give away a lot of prizes. We know we give away a lot of prizes. We give away so many prizes that it's often hard to keep track of all of the prizes that we're giving away.
I have a spreadsheet.
So we have introduced a new prize center. So you create a free account on Beasts of War. It's behind a login just to keep people's details safe, okay? But you create a free account on Beasts of War. You click on Claim a Prize. When you go in there, you get the Claim a Prize form, but further on down, so you get some of the information on how we deliver prizes and how we process all of that. You then have the Claim a Prize form that you fill in if you've won a prize, and then scooch on down a little bit more. You have the terms and conditions. Keep going. Up. You have some of the dudes that manage the whole thing. So you have Dignity, but there's Justin, the Master of Prizes. You have Ben, the chap who whips the Master of Prizes. You have me, the whipper of the whipper, and then you have Sam, a bit small to hold a whip, but and then scroll down a little bit further. You then into the actual list. So Blood and Plunder will be up at this point. If you go there now, Blood and Plunder will be live with the as will the bolt action winners for the projects. That will be live as well. And then here we have the winners for various things like Night Vault and the PSC games, Lincoln and Quartermaster, Drowned Earth, Nanti Archon, and all of the Gen Con winners over the 4 days.
There were a ton of those.
Yeah. So if you're interested in checking out if you have won a prize, just come across to beastsofwar.com or ontabletop.com and just set yourself up a free account and then click on the Claim a Prize. And that is our new shiny prize center, which means that you can at any time go in and check. And it also means that on these shows, we don't have to spend half an hour calling everybody's name out.
Yeah, UK Games Expo got mad.
And for anybody who is still waiting for a prize, don't worry, this system doesn't mean that you've been forgotten. You're still already in the system, and I will be getting in touch with you ASAP.
Yes, we are working through prizes once a week, every week, and so it is getting there. Right, a little bit of news. 500 stores for Games Workshop opened. The 500 store opened this week, and they released some Celebration miniatures, Ben.
Cool, yeah. So this was the newest store, I believe, is somewhere over in China. I think it is. But yes, this was the announcement that it's not this weekend, but next weekend on the 20th, they're going to be offering up some special miniatures to celebrate the occasion. So there's going to be 2 very special miniatures that can only be purchased on that day from stores, which will have a very limited supply. There is one for Age of Sigmar, which is Garkor, the Bladegeist Revenant.
Yeah,
and then there is also a Primaris Lieutenant as well. Now, these might look like quite simple miniatures, but when you watch the video that's also included in that news post, so make sure you go and check it out. The actual designers behind these talk a little bit more about the models themselves. Now, Garkor there that we would see in there, from the name, you'd imagine that's a man. But actually, as you listen to the designer talking, this is one of the female characters that he designed, who is actually a servant of Lady Olinda in the new Death faction with the Nighthaunt and stuff, which is very cool. And he goes into detail about the twinned weapons, the more delicate crown, and all that kind of thing as well.
Very
nice. I really love the touch to the model with the sort of the cloak floating through the gravestone as well. That's very good. And for the Primaris Lieutenant, one of the interesting things I didn't know actually about the Primaris armor that they wear, I think it's Mark 10, isn't it now? But that the way that they've designed the helmet, it can actually come apart in 2 parts as well as just one. So the model that you see there with the sort of bottom half of it with the rebreather and the comm system still attached to the ears, that's still part of the main helmet, but then he's actually holding the top of it in his hands. So the helmet
you can pop the top on.
You can just take the top off or take the whole thing off if you wanted to, which I thought was a really cool little touch, sort of giving us a little bit more of an insight into the armor of the Space Marines.
Yeah, that's a great piece of design. I thought the 500 store opened in Germany. I don't know what made me. I don't know what made me think it was Germany. You're probably right with it. If it was China, I something made me think it was Germany.
I may have read the story wrong. I will check now.
No, I doubt that. Ben, you are a fountain of knowledge compared to me, man. So
China
it's
or Germany.
Yeah,
it's in Hong Kong, China.
It's in Hong Kong. Hong Kong.
Yeah, so actually one of the things that came out just as we were about to start filming this is that they did a little bit more of an announcement about Lord of the Rings. Now, the game has come back out and it has done very, very well.
Yes.
And to celebrate that, over the coming months in the run up to Christmas, they're going to be re-releasing a whole bunch of the old models, which is very cool. But this also means more plastic new models too, including a new Gandalf on foot, and a new armored Pippin as well, which is absolutely amazing. And we just saw those in the blog post.
Oh, that is amazing.
That's nice. So that's
that is a brilliant
Gandalf the White, or the slightly creamy, and Pippin. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And yeah, as I say, things have been going from strength to strength with Lord of the Rings. They're going to be doing a lot more stuff in the run-up to Christmas. They're going to be bringing out a lot more stuff for the dwarves, for the elves, and for the Uruk-hai. As you can see there, they've got some sort of little sneaky peeks there to what they're doing with Murin and Drar and Lurtz and stuff as well.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Lurtz, if you'd never played any Games Workshop games, you'd never know his name, because he's only really mentioned about it in the very end credits that you wouldn't really recognize.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
the only way I knew his name was because of playing it on the tabletop.
Yeah, me too.
Though
I am a little annoyed about these releases for one simple reason.
Well, you don't have them in your hand yet.
Okay, for two simple reasons. The second one is, last week I bought the old metal sculpt of Pippin in his Gondor armor, and that just arrived with me, and I was so happy and pleased. And
well, now you can be happy. There's another one for you to collect.
Yeah,
true.
Yes,
I'll just say that's another Hobbit.
We are collectors. Never be unhappy, man. It's another one for you to save up for.
Just give me all the Lord of the Rings minis. I want them all.
Right. Dun, 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 dun. Right. Time for some Star Wars. We've got the specialists in place.
Yeah, so this was an announcement that came out at Gen Con this year, where they thought they were going to be doing these specialist boxes, but this is a first look at them in a little bit more detail, so you get an idea of what you actually get inside the sets. So in actual fact, what you get inside these sets for both the Rebels and the Imperials is both an officer model, as well as medical droids and comms operators as well. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind these is that the officers themselves offer you a little bit more of a sort of relaxed approach to commanding your force. Now, up until this point, a lot of the big focus has been on the massive heroes, so you've got the likes of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, but not all armies in Star Wars are led by these heroes. Exactly. Most of them are led by normal generals. Mm-hmm. And so that's where these officers come in. And these officers will allow you to control your troops in different ways. They won't have the same powerful cards that the likes of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader have, but they'll still be integral to you using your armies, and also, with a lower points cost, allow you to include a lot more different things in your army as well, which is really cool. The other really interesting thing about these expansions, because we're starting to learn a little bit more about them as the previews come on, is that some of these models are also unit attachments. So a lot of the normal units, like the basic Rebel Troopers and the Stormtroopers, for example, will have a little mark on their card which shows that you can have a unit attachment to it. Mm-hmm. And this could be something like a comms operator. Yeah. Now, they go into a little bit more detail about the comms operator, where they will allow you to not only be able to command your forces more effectively and link in sort of abilities with other troops on the tabletop, but also maybe disrupt the communications of the enemy as well, which is kind of cool when they're giving orders. And then, of course, you've got things like the medical droids, which I know no doubt are going to we're no doubt going to see them sort of getting involved in healing your troops up and keeping them in the fight as well. So this is a really cool sort of little addition onto what they're already doing with Star Wars Legion, giving it a little bit more of a generic feel, taken away from the heroes. And it also means that they can look towards some favorite characters in different guises. Like, I believe, like the Rebel character might look a little bit like someone from the Clone Wars, which is really cool. So yeah,
he does a bit, awesome. Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm actually really, I'm really pleased with this, because I've got to say, I love Star Wars Legion. I've been a big fan.
Yeah.
But I'm really keen to lose the Skywalkers and the Vaders and things like that from it, and start to focus more into the actual armies themselves, because the heroes don't particularly. It's a bit like this again, isn't it? Actually, when you think about it, because I want to explore. You see, the Star Wars movies are all about the heroes. Do you know what I mean?
So that's why Rogue One tried to be different.
Yeah, and I enjoyed Rogue One immensely. I've enjoyed all of them as a piece of entertainment, but whenever I'm playing on the tabletop, I want to experience the gritty battles that the armies themselves had. So I'm more interested in seeing Fantasy Flight coming out with more support stuff for the troops, like support vehicles. I want to see more breadth,
transports and things.
Yeah, I want to see transports, tanks. These kinds of things. I want there's what is it? Whenever you talk about, is it full spectrum warfare? It's where all of the different bits.
Oh, combined arms.
Combined arms. Thank you, Justin. High five. So it's the combined arms that I want to see. I want to see them explore that, because the heroes are fun, but the heroes wear me down a little bit. I think that the armies and the games would be more interesting without them.
Well, for me, sorry, Ben.
No, I was going to say it's one of those things that's very much talked about and shown off a lot more in what we saw in the prequels with the Clone Wars, because at that stage you had all the clone troopers that then had their like flying transports, their ground transports, their massive walking tanks and that kind of thing, but you never really got to see that in what was going on in the original Star Wars trilogies, because a lot of that stuff was either the preserve of the Imperials and the Empire, because the Rebels didn't have a lot of it, and also I'd imagine it's because it cost quite a lot in the effects budget.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's,
I think it was more to do with number 2.
I think
the stuff existed.
Do you know how they, in the very first theatrical release of A New Hope, where Luke's speeder is going through Mos Eisley, do you know how they made the effect of it floating above? They smeared the camera screen with Vaseline, to make a blur effect underneath it.
It's Justin sitting there going, "What a waste of good Vaseline."
dude, come on, give me some credit, some KY for me if you don't mind.
Wait, what?
But the huge thing for me with this is it's going to unlock the ability to do different builds for your forces.
Yeah.
Now, one of the big things that I always had a problem with the early release of Star Wars Legion, I love the game, I love the mechanics. The heroes are such a huge chunk of points, and you're running on really fine tolerances whenever you're building your forces. I think whenever we were running it, the most different force Jerry was fit to build was a speeder bike heavy list. That was absolutely horrendous. It was nasty. It hurt like hell. Go watch the video. You'll see.
Yeah, we'll get that episode link below.
Yeah, but this is now going to unlock those points that you really needed just for shimmying stuff about and actually maybe getting those extra equipment slots.
Getting extra troopers in as well, Justin.
Because we always find you were either going for a regular extra trooper or the special guy.
Because I want to see bigger games.
Sorry, I think it has to be one or the other. Sorry,
but I want to see bigger games.
Yeah,
I don't want to feel confined. Star Wars Legion. Will very quickly. I'm hoping over the course of 2019 get to a stage where you can start to breathe and have your 40k scale games and stuff.
Yeah, for me, it felt like you were locked into certain builds whenever you chose your points level. You were sort of forced towards a certain way to build your forces.
Well, like I said, I would. I won't be sad to be playing games without the heroes, the big names, because. It's fun, but it's fun that only goes so far. I think the real tactical play, the real joy in these games is when we go old school. When we take it back to the types of games you would have played as the Napoleonics and things like that. Because in your Napoleonic games, and people go, "What's he talking about Napoleonics for?" If you had Napoleon on the field, Napoleon wouldn't be rushing to the front and chopping people up left, right, and center and shooting them from half a mile away. Napoleon's there, but it's all about the real forces on the ground. And I want to see Star Wars played out that way, where it's the real forces that are making a difference, and they're not there just as some kind of support act for the big black character or the skinny farm boy from the desert. I want to see what the forces themselves can do, and the tactical prowess that you can bring to bear.
I want to see
vehicles, more vehicles.
Yeah, although what I want to see is the same as I was saying with this, seeing forces that have that big character in there and forces that don't, and seeing how they stack up. Because whenever we were playing, I always found one of two things happened. Either your big heroes would go for a duel.
Yes. They end up coming up.
Conversely, they would just ignore each other and just start chewing through units on the other side, and it was just
one right echelon, the other left echelon, and they're just chewing their way through.
Seeing who killed stuff quickest first in a spiral. Yeah. So I'm very curious to see what we get.
Next up, we have news on a game that I am incredibly excited about.
Yeah, me too.
Early on this one.
This is Cruel Seas by Warlord, and we're seeing the first artwork and stuff coming through for this.
Yeah. So they've put together a Facebook page which sort of talks a little bit more about the game. So for anyone who didn't know or was wondering about the scale, it's 1/300th scale. So you're interested in that. It's also going to be done in a slightly different fashion that a lot of people might have already thought. Now, when you think about Cruel Seas and you think about Warlord doing a big ship battle game, you imagine like the big destroyers and stuff fighting it out on the seas. This starter set actually focuses things down a little bit more sort of on a smaller scale about torpedo boats
Yeah.
going up against each other. So this is a little bit more of like I guess you'd say the skirmish game of the seas, I suppose.
Oh, that's cool.
This will be more fun in many ways. Well, I say
Yeah.
more fun. This will be a different kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because this will be where you'll have boats that can zip in and out. Whereas if you're doing the destroyers, destroyers are big hulking beasts.
Well,
and
no,
it's
the
all
destroyers
about
are the smaller ones.
Well, anything from
that's-
but anything from destroyers up. If you're doing the big naval battles,
Yeah.
you know, from destroyers up to battleships, up to carriers and stuff like that, they're big, slow-moving behemoths. It's a very different kind of game. This is going to feel more tight and skirmishy, and I also get to play Mikhail's Navy on the desktop.
See, my hope is that
Any of you, Sam's looking at me blank again. Sam, do you know Mikhail's Navy?
No, I don't know.
Have you ever heard of Daley Thompson?
No, I have.
Have you ever heard of Steve Cram?
No, I have not.
Have you ever heard of Kenny Douglas?
No, I have not.
This is what I get all day long.
This was 20 minutes before we started filming. Just him going, have you heard of? Have you heard of?
No. I'm going to utterly embarrass you now. But Sam is a huge fan of Iron Maiden. Right,
I do like Iron Maiden.
And I said Daley Thompson. You know, he was the guy that did the Lucasade advert that had the Iron Maiden track, and I went and he said, I don't know that one. I said, it's Phantom of the Opera, and he said, I never knew that Iron Maiden did a cover of Phantom of the Opera.
Well, I didn't.
It's not a cover. It's not the musical, man. Anyway, I have educated him. It's the Killers album. I'm going to get it for you. When's your birthday?
6th of December.
Right.
So it's actually on the day that we film.
Have you got a record player?
I can borrow Ryan's.
Has your dad got a record? Oh, you've got a record player in your house?
Yes.
Right. I'm going to get you Killers on vinyl for your birthday.
Because I am building up a record collection for when I can afford a record player.
Because if you're going to listen to Killers, you have to listen to it on vinyl.
Of course.
Because it is arguably the finest Iron Maiden record that they ever made.
Sweet.
So it was certainly the best of the Paul Di'Anno 2. So there, yeah. So I come up against this all the time, and I've now completely lost my train. Mikhail's Navy. Mikhail's Navy was a great TV show. It was a comedy, an American comedy, about guys on the patrol boats and around the Pacific.
Okay.
So it's nice. Is this set in the Pacific, Ben?
As far as I can tell, this is set in Europe at the moment.
Right.
It's going to be between obviously the Allies and the Axis over in Europe. But I'm sure there's going to be some island hopping stuff getting thrown into the mix as well, because that'll be very cool too. So yeah.
I think it's great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this one goes.
My hope for this one is...
I was just going to say, just quickly, just so you're aware, the pre-orders for this go up on November the 2nd, and then the actual full release of it is December the 8th. So watch out for that.
Fantastic.
My hope is this is maybe a jump-off point, so they start with the small ships and work their way up through the bigger ones.
Oh, the scale is big, Justin.
Oh, I
it's
know.
It's 1/300 scale.
That.
Yeah, I know you don't mind it, but you're looking like really big battleships.
That could be cool.
Well,
I would play that.
It'd be cool to build and own, but I'm not sure it would be cool to play.
There have been whispers of some submersibles and stuff.
I like
the idea of the
idea.
submersibles. Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
I could have an entire fleet of submersibles, and I'd never have to buy a model.
Where's your army?
Okay, next up, we have we're going to Rome. We're going to Rome. We're going to the great city of Rome from Z-Man Games. Ben, what can you tell us about this one?
Cool, yeah, so I'm going to run out the same joke that I've run out on social media and on the website.
Good
that Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built in 60 minutes.
Way!
So yeah, this is a really cool game that's coming out from Z-Man Games, hopefully next year. There'll also be maybe a little bit of a preview at it to Essen this year, which hopefully we'll go and check out. But this is a new game out from them, which is building together a whole bunch of different styles of mechanics. So you've got action selection, card drafting, and also sort of card/tile laying at the same time. What you'll do during your turn is that there's going to be like a strip that you can see there in that image that will have a whole bunch of different actions on it.
Yeah.
You will bid to see which space you get on that track, and that will determine how quick you go and sort of the amount of resources you'll get as well. You'll then use those resources to take cards from an array that has been generated at the start of your turn, and you'll be building up a very, very small and select 4x4 grid, showing off a small district in the middle of the city of Rome. Now, this is really interesting because it not only throws a little bit of sort of like tactical thinking in there where you've got to be like, right, do I go quick so I can get the cards, or do I wait till later so I can get more resources? But also you've got this spatial element to it as well. where you're sitting down to be thinking to yourself, okay, well, if I'm going to start building up this grid, am I going to start in the corner and build out that way? Am I going to give myself more options by starting in the center? Because you're going to have to work out all the different combinations and all kind of things like that. If anyone's played any games like Alhambra and stuff, that's a kind of pretty interesting sort of jumping off point towards games like this.
Yeah.
But this looks really good, and it's Z-Man or Z-Man, I guess, if you want to call him Z-Man and be British, or American. But well,
it's a bit like how I call the show Dragon Ball Z just because I love the winces I get from the anime fans.
I have been a Z-man myself all my life, even though I grew up in Britain. Because of Sesame Street, I'm a Z-man. I've been XYZ all my life. Right, Justin.
Yes,
we have the Edge.
Yes, so
not the guitarist.
Oh, we got you to it.
No, myself and now let me see if I can get his name right. I think it's Lukash. Or no,
I don't think it is.
No, Pavel. Sorry, Pavel.
Yep.
Myself and Pavel are sitting down because we've been having a look at the Edge. You may have seen this week we put out the first of a 10-episode campaign series. But myself and Pavel, before we actually jumped into that, sat down to have a look at the different possible campaigns we could have and talk through what each one's like. So we'll have a quick look. Hello everybody and welcome. I am joined by Pavel from Awakened Realms, and we are here to talk to you about the Edge Dawnfall. Now, you guys ran a really successful Kickstarter on this and created a monster box of stuff that people received. You actually sent us one of the war chests. We had a quick look through it. My God,
I saw the unboxing.
I have to admit, it's mildly intimidating for me. I looked at it and it's just like, big box, that's mildly intimidating. But we've brought you across because we actually want to get a closer look at the game and the campaign system that you guys have written up for it. Now, what we actually have on the table is the 3 campaigns that you guys created. So we've got Chapter versus Demons, Faceless versus Reborn, and what's this one?
Razak versus Dvergar.
There are 3 of them, and is there a specific order you would recommend people play them in?
Actually, I think we arranged them in the order we were used to play those. Actually, you can play them in any order, and those 3 are actually only PvP campaigns. So for those, you need to have an actual opponent, and then in the box, each of our supporters from Kickstarter got also a Darkness faction, the 7th faction.
Yeah.
And they have some AI system.
Very cool.
To use when you don't get an opponent. And also, if you manage to go through all those 3, they are interconnected with each other. So sometimes some choices from the Chapter versus Demons campaign will actually have some repercussions, so to say, in, for example, Razak versus Dvergar campaign. Without spoilers, I cannot tell you,
Flash, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I cannot tell you, without some big spoilers, I cannot tell you much about those, where those interconnections happen. So, for example, sometimes in Faceless versus Reborn, you will meet maybe some of the characters from one of the other campaigns.
I see.
Or if you played those campaigns earlier, this character may already be dead.
Aye. Now, one of the interesting things you've discussed with me is that the campaign actually has narrative triggers while you're playing your games. So could you give me like an example of one of those? In fact, actually, I tell you what. Let's go through each of these books and have a look at the very first scenario, and we'll have a talk about the triggers in each, because that's nothing too spoilery. That's just the trigger. We're not going to read what actually happens when it triggers.
Yeah.
So
let's start with Chapter versus Demons.
Chapter versus Demons. Okay. So this is the book. I have to say, your artwork is gorgeous, and the miniatures are wonderful for this.
I will relay that to the artists.
Well, it's very much appreciated whenever people do
those are just prologues, the basic rules for the campaign.
And then we get into our first one. So
this
scenario
first, Black Stairs. So, all right. We have a bit of a intro here, so there is some narrative going on.
And I'm seeing it for both sides, so you're getting the view from both factions, yeah?
Yes, exactly. So, for your first playthrough, you may play as a chapter, you will make some choices, your opponent will make some choices, and then after this playthrough of the campaign, you may want to swap sides, and then your demons might be, your force may be a little bit different. You will be making some different choices, and the outcomes will be different also. So there is a lot of replayability on this level even.
Okay,
now switching the sides.
Now, question: where would we see our triggers here?
All right, so we have a setup path, and there are some special rules.
Yes.
Almost each of the campaign missions of campaign scenarios have some special rules built in, so these are built on top of the normal game, of the normal skirmish PvP game. So we have in here we have a time track, so we will have some time limit for our game. And for example, in this turn 3, we will have some script happening. Script 15 it is? Yeah, it's 15.
And
so
then where are those in this book?
So those scripts are in the back of the book.
Right.
So you most of the time you know where to find them. You will find the script 15 and it will give you some narrative, what's happening. Cool. In this case, I think the demons will be joined by another of their forces.
Okay.
By another, you will get to place another miniature on the table, and it will join the fight.
Okay.
And we have also some achievements. And those, for example, if the blacksmith joins battle, blacksmith being one of those demon forces.
Yeah.
And one of the holy knights is already dead.
Yeah.
So the demons will have something else to do. In this case, they can directly perform move and combat. So they will have some special extra buff.
Yeah.
Just for killing some this holy knight earlier in the game.
Let me have a look here. Now I'm seeing the forces size seem quite small. Is this a scaling campaign where you start off small and just more and more comes in?
Yeah, actually you could use this campaign to teach you a bit about the game. Just the only thing is that those campaigns are modifying some of the basic rules, sometimes very, very highly, so to say.
Okay.
So some of the modifications might, shift the balance of particular battles a bit.
Yeah. Okay, now, for each of the factions for this particular campaign, what are the playstyles for Chapter and Demons?
Okay, so in short, the Chapter are your... they are pretty defensive. They have some great shooting units. They have the snipers. I don't think we have them on the cover. No, we have those 3 holy knights. They are awesome.
And then this huge one in the back.
Angel of Death.
Yeah.
This is like an avatar of their god. They have some machine god kinda stuff going on. And this is actually a mechanical unit. And there is one really great mission which you might or may not stumble upon during this campaign.
Oh, really? So there's some stuff you might miss because of choices?
They are, trying to get this angel to actually appear on the board.
Oh, that could be fun. That could be fun.
You have this demon onslaught. There are some background people working on this angel, on activating this behemoth to actually get rid of the demons.
Yeah.
And playstyle of the demons. They are modeled a bit after Roman legions.
Really?
So we are getting here, I think it's 7 Ferrat or Iron Legion, something like that. And they've fallen from grace. So they are trying to regain, their honor.
Yeah.
So during the campaign, you will be making some pretty difficult choices, actually.
Yeah.
About whether you should, just storm ahead just to try to blood you as much as possible, just to regain this honor, or maybe be a little bit sneakier. It's not the best thing, actually. The demons do not like those.
Yeah.
And, just to get some better outcomes.
Okay.
So they are your pretty debuff, kind of control faction.
I see.
So they are not those mindless demons, from the other universes.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Let's have a look at the Reborn versus, or the Faceless versus the Reborn. Again, gorgeous artwork. And inside the book, we get the exact same starting stuff, pretty much.
Yeah, more or less.
And we then move to our first scenario. So what is this?
Hunters and the Prey. So this time we get to know those 2 forces. All right.
So we have our Faceless stuff here, our Reborn stuff here to give you your narrative. And then we have our triggers through here again.
Yeah.
And again, small forces to start with. Is this a running theme for all of the campaigns?
Yeah, all of those campaigns have smaller forces at the beginning, just to get the feel for each side. So even if you agreed to play, for example, you would play the Reborn, I would play the Faceless, and you don't like the playstyle, this game will take like 30 minutes to completion. So even if you don't like this playstyle, you could agree with your opponent to swap the sides, and you don't lose as much.
Yeah.
If you would play the complete game with 5 squads each,
it
would take a longer time. And if you don't like it, you can, just
Well, I think
too
this
quickly
is
about
nice
it.
for all the campaigns if they're like this, because it gives you that easy into your mechanics.
Yeah.
It gently brings you into it.
Yeah, most of those will give you at some point some pretty standard things for the standard PvP, like shrines and banners.
Yeah.
Banners are one use per passive turn. I will not get into much detail here
Yeah.
on the mechanics of the game.
We'll show
We
them.
will do it later probably.
Yeah.
And the shrines are actually the tokens. They are kind of terrain pieces you use on your board, and they give you some special advantages, sometimes disadvantages to the enemy. So, for example, Faceless have a healing shrine called Hatchery,
Okay.
and it heals your units in base-to-base
That's handy.
contact. And the Reborn, you have actual opposite.
Okay.
It will deal you a damage
Oh.
when your forces are standing next to it, and you
Okay.
don't go next to it. So the Reborn are very, very board control faction, very highly specialized in that.
Okay.
They can move you around. They can ask your they can actually make your units go where they want. Then they can use some other unit to just make you stand there,
Yeah.
just so you will get those damage from the shrine.
Oof. That sounds a little
And
bit.
Faceless, they are pretty adaptive.
Okay.
So you have some special cards, like for example, Back to Source. It has 3 different tokens, and when you play it, you get to pick which attribute of your models it will affect.
Okay.
So they can grow. You could either go for a better attack or for better defense, for example.
Oh, you got to go attack.
Oh, sometimes defense is the best way, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
You'll see that.
All right.
Probably.
So, okay, I'm kind of liking the sound of this. This is feeling quite nice.
This is also 5 turn. This one. And what else do we have here? Here for turn 3 we have a script 11.
Yeah.
And we don't get to read this script to actually use this one if the Blightsteed, one of the Reborn units, is already dead. So if the Faceless player will kill this Blightsteed before the turn 3, the script won't fire. So even in this first turn, even if this first scenario, within those 3 turns, the story might go twofold.
Yeah, see, I kind of like this because it's kind of signposting you when you're playing your first game.
Yeah.
Here's something you might want to kill.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Something good's going to happen if you don't.
Exactly. And each outcome of those scenarios might affect other scenarios during this campaign. For example, we have here rewards. And we have some special rewards. Sometimes when you do something extra, you will get some extra rewards. And for example, with Reborn, if you will get their objective, so you will survive with at least 1 tree-mate, you will get to read script 16. And if you survive with at least 2 tree-mates and 1 ancient god, then you get to read script 19 instead. So you don't get in this part of the story, you get another one. And actually I think the script 19 lets you put some stickers onto the campaign board.
I was about to ask about this because whenever we opened the box we saw you had like multiple campaign maps in there, and you had a big sticker booklet. So that's what that's for. That interplays with these then.
Exactly. So you can get a campaign board, play through this campaign, put some stickers on it, and it will affect, for example, this campaign. You can then you will play the Chapter versus Demons on the same campaign board. You will be, some of the stickers might overlap actually.
Okay, that's interesting.
And still some of the choices will be shown on the main campaign map. So for example, city raised in Chapter versus Demons campaign will be still raised, smoldering ruin.
So
in
all
the
3
Razak
of these
versus
happen around
Berger.
the same time scale.
Yeah, it's around the same. For example, somewhere in the Faceless Reborn campaign, there will be some event happening. And this event is started in the Chapter versus Demons campaign, actually.
And what if I've played this one but not played this one yet, and that event hasn't happened in this campaign? Do you just
it's
pass
actually,
it back?
this one, actually, it goes well with the story. The story of the Chapter versus Demons campaign is so, like, you get the story of particular Chapter Border Patrol and this Iron Legion. And you get to see the bigger events unfolding, the big battles. So this big battle will happen regardless, actually, of your choice. So it will always happen for this campaign. No worries.
Okay.
There is no.
That's cool.
There is no more those big inconsistencies in setting. No problem.
Okay, Faceless versus Reborn. That is a freaky looking tree, man. I've got to say.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Razak versus Dvergar.
Yeah, right.
So, beginning, we have pretty much the same things again, the basics of what you need to know. And then we go into the first of the scenarios. So what is this?
It's called First Encounter.
Okay.
And as you can see, or maybe not, those are Razak actually.
Uh-huh.
And
so what are the Razak?
Razak, they are like the most technologically advanced faction in the world of the Edge Dawnfall.
Okay.
They are they have like those they are how to say it, their minds are connected in the web, and then those minds are just downloaded, I think, to their bodies.
Okay.
Just to go for a special mission. So in this case, you will get some more more analytical, so to say, world viewpoint, and they don't know their origin, so they are searching for it.
I see. And then the Dvergar?
And Dvergar are former slaves of the demons.
Oh.
The demons are going from the world to another one through some interdimensional portals or something.
Yeah.
And at some point they manage to subjugate the Dvergar.
Ah, okay.
And at some point those Dvergar manage to break free. So they are this, master, those siege masters. And the thing is that the demons, at some point, to get them to obey them, they planted some kind of arcane fire in them. So they are all the time, they need to fuel this fire because it sustains them, but also burns them from inside out.
Ooh.
So for example, the Dvergar player will have a special gas reserve during the campaign, and he needs to balance this use of this gas against how much can he actually find during the game.
Interesting. Oh wow, they actually do look really advanced.
Yeah, they just used some kind of portal to get to this world, and they are looking around for the clues about their origins.
And we have those same sort of triggers and stuff. So like for special events, as soon as the first Razak model dies, you read script 12. Achievements. If the Razak captured the Flamekeeper, they add 2 more to the research counter. I'm guessing, is this a resource for the campaign?
Yeah, exactly. They will be making some research about their origins, and when they reach a special threshold of this research, they will have some special modifiers happening.
I see. And then the Dvergar, there's a nice penalty here if they lose. This is not a spoiler. The Dvergar were chased away from the gas deposit before they could fully refill their tanks. Set the Dvergar temperature gauge to 4. Yeah,
that's exactly those.
Is that their resource then?
Yeah, exactly. If they will reach in the first page of the book, there is how this temperature gauge works. It's explained. So if they will ever reach this temperature gauge up to, I think it's 10. They will start to melt from the inside, but on the other hand, they will get some bonuses to their statistics because they go much and more quicker. This way, but it will come at a price of their endurance tokens of their wounds.
That's an interesting mechanic. I'm curious about that.
At some point, the Dvergar player might want to choose. We will go overdrive. We will slowly cure ourselves, but we will get another activations.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, well, as I'm sure everybody can guess, we haven't just brought Pavel across to sit and chat about the game, we've brought him across to play the game.
Yeah.
We're going to play one of these campaigns. However, I have to ask you, which one of these do you think is going to be the best for us to do? Now, I'm going to be honest, the sound of the Dvergar, they sound like they have a really interesting mechanic, but you know the game best. So what do you think is going to show off this game to its best light for everybody at home?
Between Razak and Dvergar and... Chapter and demons, I would go with Dvergars and Razak, but I don't think you played probably Edge at some point of its development.
I played it during its beta testing, whenever it was still in development.
So it was long time ago. The game changed a bit from that point. So
well, for
to learn the game...
For someone who knows the raw mechanics but needs to learn the finesse then, who would you say is the best faction to jump back in with for me personally?
Yeah, so for the raw mechanics, we would go with Chapter versus Demons. But if we want to show off something else in the actual factions,
well, I remember the raw framework.
Faceless versus Reborn?
Versus Reborn would be the best. I think so. That's maybe the case. I like to play Faceless, and I like how different the Reborn are.
Okay.
They have some completely different mechanics going on.
Well, I mean, like I do remember some of the main mechanics from whenever you guys were over the last time. You had the resource management, the activations for moving and attacking, and actually getting bonuses.
Yeah, those things haven't changed that much actually.
All right, so we'll go Faceless and Reborn.
Yeah, I think it would be the best. The Reborn are playing completely different game than Faceless.
Well, honestly, from the sound of the Reborn, I don't think they're my style of faction. So if it's okay, I'd like to take the Faceless.
Okay.
I
love playing Faceless. When people ask me which faction is for me, I love playing Faceless, but I am this, horde player without regard to particular models on the table. Okay, I will go with Reborn. I won't be as happy with it, just to tell you, but still I can work with Reborn. They are fine. I love to play them during the playtesting, so it works for me. And you like the artwork, so
yeah, the artwork was very cool on that one, and I'm intrigued by the two factions as you described them. All right, everybody.
Just a thing?
Huh?
Just a shout out.
Oh, yeah. You want to give a shout? Go ahead.
Actually, those campaigns were made by only. We were just doing the playtesting, but they were written by a professional writer, Krzysztof Piskorski. So he's really known guy around in Poland. He wrote some very good books. Maybe they will be available at some point in English, so we could, get to know him.
All right, well, the only thing left for you and me to do is to take this book, get ourselves set up, and start getting some games on. So, everybody, stay tuned, because myself and Pavel are going to be going through a full campaign for the Edge Dawnfall. Yes?
Yeah, you are already getting good with this, Pavel. Yeah, I can say that.
I'm sure we'll have enough videos for me to screw it up. Everybody, we'll move on. Stay tuned for the Let's Plays when they come out. We will see you very shortly.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Alan from Lightseekers, and you're watching The Weekender with beastofwar.com. Oh, yeah.
This game has me really intrigued for some of the stuff that's happening in it. Having midway through the game, story triggers happening, it feels nice, because it's you going, okay, let's stop. Something shifted on the battlefield. Let's figure out what's happening here. Yeah. Very, very cool, and definitely a series you're going to want to watch.
I must admit now, I've been looking at this. The quality of the game is just superb.
I was a little intimidated when I opened that war chest. There's a lot in there.
You were intimidated. I took delivery of that. It was just like, okay, here. Can you sign for it?
He nearly died under it. It's an incredible looking game, and those mechanics of the story triggers firing off. It's a game that is among its player bases supremely highly rated. It's very, very highly rated among its player base. So be sure to check out the campaign that we're going to run. We're going to run 10 episodes, a 10-episode campaign.
Two sets of five.
Yeah. So but please tune in for that, because it is
they are running a Kickstarter. While I believe they are running a Kickstarter while the first series are going out.
Okay. So stay tuned for that. Right, on the topic of Kickstarters, a perfect segue in there, Sam. We're kicking off at 18 days left on the card. It's D6 by Certifiable Studios.
Yes. Yeah, and so to give it its full name, it's
I
D6.
know this one! Dungeons, Dudes, Dames, Danger, Dice, and Dragons.
Yeah. God damn it, you stole it. I was going to say that.
And remember to ding my dong.
Got a few extra D's in there.
Yeah, this was one I asked Ben to put in because it's from one of my favorite creators.
Yeah.
So this is from Certifiable Studios. I'm sure I'll let Justin wind on about this in a little bit as well, but I'll just give you my spiel to begin with. This is a game that's a little bit, it's not so much a board game, it's more of an adventure game. Yeah. You're going to be playing as a character which you roll up, like a standard Dungeons & Dragons character, for example, and then you'll be heading out into the world to hunt down monsters, steal their bounty, complete quests, come back to town, and be the most glorious in the world.
Oh.
And I because you can screw over your friends, you can send monsters off in different directions and all kinds of things like that. There's some really cool mechanics going into the way that the combat works as well. It's all sort of dice based, but you get loads of different pluses coming in from all the different items you bring with you in the potions you've brewed, as well as some of your skills that are generated throughout the character duration and throughout the rest of the game as well. And of course, the monsters can grow and be changed by what's called the Dungeon Master's Book as well. So they've got this is a really interesting, like, I looked at the game to begin with, and the whole idea of going out and killing all the monsters and stuff was kind of cool. And I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. It's got that kind of like standard feel to it.
Yeah.
But then the really interesting thing to me was when they added in that DM's book, which adds in not only story ties and sort of little hints and encounters, but also ways you can screw over your friends in even more detail. Oh. And it's like this little tiny book that you open up and you read a little bit of a passage, and that knoll that you were facing before suddenly now has wings, fangs.
Oh.
It's like a horrible dire version of the character and all kinds of things like that. It looks really fun. The artwork looks superb. The videos on their Kickstarter page about telling you how to play are very, very interesting and very, very funny, and they're very charming too. And they really give you a feel for the mechanics very, very nicely and simply as well. I believe they've got a rulebook up there too, so you can go and check that out as well, which is really neat. But the thing for me that really got this was that it was kind of like a little one of those games that's a bit more of an antidote to role-playing games if you don't get to play them very often.
Yes.
Instead of having to sit down for 4 hours, you can sit down and have a little bit of fun and play out something a little bit more intense than Munchkin, but not as intense as a role-playing session, in about 90 minutes or so, which I thought was really cool.
This sounds fantastic.
I love this. I want this one. I absolutely want this one. I'm actually a really big fan of Munchkin. I know Munchkin has been Munchkin to death.
Yeah,
it has.
But of Munchkin and Munchkin Quest, I am without doubt a fan. I think this is going to be epic.
I still remember how much I enjoyed Munchkin when I first came across it. The problem was I played too much Munchkin. So this looks like it'll give me that same feeling of when I first discovered Munchkin.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a safe bet of a game to add to your collection.
Oh yeah,
to have to be able to just whip out on an evening or a weekend when you have friends over or with the family. Yeah. It looks like and I love that addition of the little book. Anything that gives you structured narrative that you can throw in just to take the thinking away, because it's with RPGs, it's difficult sometimes to be able to have all the plot and the narrative and stuff worked out in advance. And not all of us have the creative ability to just sit back and stream out a cohesive narrative just on a whim. So to have little structured things like that you're not worried about any of that. You're just enjoying the story that they tell as it unfolds. That really suits me.
It's one of the interesting things, because like this game is very much there's a little bit of math involved. You got to do a lot of adding and subtraction and trying to work out whether or not you can beat a certain monster with all the plus it has on it and that kind of thing. But then adding this thing, as you say, this narrative aspect of things makes things a lot better. It's something that came across in a lot of other games as well. Like one of the big ones for me is Tales of Arabian Nights, which is a absolutely massive game, and it can all really be distilled down to the numbers, and you can just basically go and do the most optimum things. But because of the book that you get with it that tells you interesting stories every time you sit down to play, it kind of gives it this new and sort of like much grander feel to everything as well. So it's a really big and important part of games like this, where you're trying to encourage a little bit of role playing, a little bit of comedy as well. It's very cool. So.
Okay, like I said,
he hasn't had a chance.
I haven't had a chance to say anything.
Okay, go ahead, Justin.
Look, the things that draw me to this: number one, the art style is absolutely gorgeous. Number two, I have seen the component quality that this company can crank out from Who Goes There, and the mechanics.
Who Goes There? That's the thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Justin is a huge fan of that game.
I'm a huge fan of that game, and same guys. I know what they can do. I know this is going to turn out an epic game. This is one you don't want to miss.
There you go. We let him say something. Okay, 18 days left on that. Go and check it out. Next up, we have Beowulf Beastslayer. Now, I gotta say, right, I loved the cartoon of Ray Winston as Beowulf, as the animated
CGI one.
CGI one.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Written by Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
Were you not a fan, Ben?
No, I prefer the Gerard Butler. Fan of Beast of War and on tabletop, I prefer the Gerald Butler version of the game, of the story called Beowulf and Grendel. I liked it for the kind of action behind the animated version, and I liked the kind of things they did with it and a little bit of a different twist on the story.
Yeah,
but I think there was a little bit too much of that uncanny valley about it that kind of.
There was a bit of that. You did have to switch off.
The Gerald Butler version is very good, and of course, there's the original Seamus Heaney adaptation of it as well, which is amazing.
I was going to mention that one. Seamus Heaney's written adaptation of Beowulf.
Is this Seamus Heaney from Balahi?
This is Seamus Heaney from Northern Ireland. Yeah. My gran went to university with him.
From Balahi. He's actually the most famous thing from a village called Balahi, which was the village where my father was born. I took my children there recently to look at all the graves.
And everything was Seamus Heaney.
It's an Irish thing we do, you know. So and everything was Seamus Heaney. The police station has now been turned into the Seamus Heaney Appreciation Center. So it's
I'd rather watch Outlander, the sci-fi version.
I'm interested in this Jared Butler one. So Jared Butler, is that not that's the guy played Leonidas in 300?
Yes. Yeah. So he did a version of it that was done as a adaptation that takes the legend of Beowulf and turns it a little bit on its head, and the film's called Beowulf and Grendel, and the film itself is very, very good. It's a bit indie. It's very, very cool though. The fighting in it's really awesome. The storytelling's really nice. The setting's amazing. But one of the really fascinating things about that film, I mean, I know we're going way off topic from the Kickstarter, but
yes, we totally are. Yeah.
One of the fascinating things about that film is the documentary that was made alongside it. Now, this documentary, I can't remember the name of it right now, but I will make sure to put it in the show notes, was all about the curse that basically befell them when they went to go and make this film. They set out to make it, and they filmed it all in Iceland. And Iceland is a notoriously crazy place for weather. And they sat down to start filming the film, and for some reason, the gods were against them. That's the name of the film, Wrath of Gods.
Yeah.
They built the huge Herald's Hall, which is the place where Beowulf goes, and you know he sits down and during the night he defeats Grendel and stuff. That got burnt down. People were injured. Cars were flung off the road. There was massive amounts of problems with the financing for the film. And the guy that created it, he got it blessed before they began by a pagan priest. And as they walked away, one of the cast members, who was an Icelandic person, went up to one of the cast members and said, "You do realize that he didn't actually bless the film, right?" And they were like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, something about the translation. I think it was like a curse or something." And lo and behold, the film was riven with destruction and all kinds of horrible things. But the film came out amazing in the end. And a lot of people by the end of it were saying, like Gerald Butler actually said, it was the hardest filming he has ever had to do, because he was having to walk through terrible rain, mud, snow, sleet, getting hit in the head with swords when he wasn't meant to, nearly drowning in a river, all kinds of things like that. But he said it was one of the most proud things he's ever done, because they came out the other end of it and they'd made something amazing. So whenever you watch Beowulf and Grendel, make sure that you also watch Wrath of the Gods afterwards, because it's a fantastic documentary and also a very, very good film too.
Absolutely. So. And Ben told me before the show started, Warren, don't be going on your weird tangents.
Damn it! But yes, going back to this Kickstarter. This is Beowulf Beastslayer, and this is by Jonathan Green. Now, if anybody who doesn't know this name, he has actually done a lot of stuff for Fighting Fantasy in the Path, and this is a new adventure game book that he has. What did I say?
Yeah, he said in the path.
In the past.
Yes, in the past.
That's what I meant. I'm getting confused. But anyway, yes. So this is a new adventure game book that he's done based on the legends and myth of Beowulf. And the idea is that you take control of the eponymous hero Beowulf, but you get to tell his story in a different fashion from the book itself. You can either try and follow on with his exploits and try and do it as he did in the epic poem, or you can try and craft Beowulf into a different type of hero, dealing with different situations and different encounters. The artwork for this game has also been done by Russ Nicholson, who is also one of the fabulous artists on Fighting Fantasy, who did some of the artwork that you find inside the book for Warlock of Firetop Mountain, which is really cool. The other really interesting thing about this book too is that it can be played in different ways. Now, you can either play this in the traditional way, where you roll dice for encounters and that determines the outcome, but there's also a really fascinating way that's drawn into the idea of fate in the game as well. And this is a version of the game where you can play with cards instead, and so you can almost play with fate and try to like up your fate every time you draw cards to defeat encounters. The other way you can play this is actually just like a normal storybook, and you can make your choices, but you don't actually have to worry about the encounters. You just choose the outcome for them, and you carry on to the end and tell it in different ways like that. So you can read the book in different ways each time you come to it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this is an adventure game book. It's got some really big names behind it. I thought it was really interesting, since we've been talking about adventure game books ourselves on the show over the last couple of weeks as well. So if you're interested in this one, it's got some big names, as I say, and it's on Kickstarter right now as well.
Fantastic.
Oh,
yes.
Also, if they get the funding for the stretch goals, they're also going to get a miniature sculpted by Paul Muller that will then be cast by Otherworld Miniatures. So if you like Otherworld Miniatures, there could also be a Beowulf miniature.
Fantastic. 17 days left on that. And Jonathan, best of luck, man. I am a huge fan of the fighting fantasy. So, yeah, I want to see you do well in that. Right. To close out the show, it's enough about all of this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the most important people of the world. You guys are community members, and we're going to give out our golden buttons. So who's getting golden buttons this week for their work, Ben?
I've been looking forward to this one.
Cool. So the first golden button that we're giving out today is from New Bolter. And this is no surprise because we actually said on the Hobby Hangout on Wednesday that we'd be giving him a golden button then anyway. And this is for
God!
This is for his amazing work that has gone into not only his Burrows and Badgers style houses, but also they could be used for hobbits, Sam.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I've been keeping an eye on this project for that
and
exact reason.
The amazing thing about this project is that it goes down into the very root of what a lot of us believe should be the very essence of terrain building.
Yes.
It's taking something that is basically nothing, like lollipop sticks, polystyrene, and all that kind of thing, and turning it into something amazing. And he has done this with this project, showing off an absolutely amazing amount of detail as he talks about the different techniques he's used for getting all the things like the fencing ready, the doors, all the green stuff techniques he uses, shaping the foam, and building it all up and painting it as well, which is really fascinating. So if you want to get your hands on some interesting ideas for terrain, New Bolter has done a really fantastic project here, as you can see. And he's also not just stopping at the house, he's also done some awesome little bits and pieces as accessories. He's done a little cart that comes with little tiny bakery goods in it, which is just amazing and cute. And he's also done a really fantastic birdhouse as well too, which is really cool. So yeah.
Okay, I've got the project here for us, if we want to have a look through.
So even the very
pretty
trees are being made out of wire. Yeah, well, let's get us right. Let's start hitting some buttons here. So remember, on the Beast of War project system, come across, and if you are looking at these projects, be sure to go log in and give the guys some nominations.
That's cool.
Hot glue gun.
That creates a very cool effect.
That
Good sort
is
of bark
nice.
text.
Yeah,
Very cool work.
that's excellent.
We
paint, so skill.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, we talked a little bit about this on the Hobby Hangout this week as well, and we were saying that whether or not you could achieve the same look with dipping the wire into PVA glue, perhaps, as well, but maybe it would all slick off.
Yes, PVA glue would slick off. To get that effect, you've only really two options that spring to mind. One is a hot glue gun, and the other is clay, and wrap it up in clay. You could use green stuff, but it'd be a very expensive way to do it. I'd be more inclined to use something like clay. You could also make a nice thick sprackle. So like a wall filler kind of thing, and then put that on, and remember to score it to give you that bark effect. But I think what he's done with the hot glue gun is excellent, because it'll give you a very fantasy kind of a effect. Cart's beautiful, isn't it?
You're loving that card specifically because he mentioned you in the opening of that post.
No, I'm loving it because he's made it all out of
Lollipop
coffee
sticks.
syrup.
It's a really impressive piece.
The skill on
The whittling
I
on
wish
it.
I could click the skill twice.
Yeah, the whittling. Sorry, Justin. When we're finished here, I'm going to go in and click his skill button for him. So it's it's superb. What a well-deserved golden button.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
some
congratulations,
fabulous
New
work.
Bolter. Awesome work. Please keep it coming, man.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Next up, we have the Tabletop Troubadour.
I have been so excited to show this one off today.
Okay.
Ben, please tell us about this.
Now, this one showed up towards the tail end of the week, and it's by Tabletop Troubadour, who a lot of people will know as Johnny Fraser Allen, who we've talked about, and I have a man crush on, and so does Sam.
Yeah,
so I need to fight
very
over
much
him
so.
now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too.
But this is his converted gnome and wizard army, and also orcs and goblins in a bit as well, which he's done to go with his Hagglethorn Hollow terrain. And this is possibly one of the craziest and the most imaginative army projects I have ever seen. And these images don't even show you the start of what he's got in this project.
This project is incredible. I've been drooling over it all day.
Now, as I said, this is a project that he's put together because he really wanted to get stuck into creating armies that would fight over the world of Hagglethorn Hollow and the woods and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing out there that really drew his attention to it until he saw this, when he wanted to decide to bring both the idea of gnomes and wizards into the equation. And he loves gnomes, but it's really hard to find anyone that makes them and use them in Age of Sigmar, for example. So he created all the different characters that you see here. They're then twinning up with wizards that you can see at the bottom of the little project section we've got here. who have all been done in fantastic different colors and all kinds of massive beards and all kinds of things like that.
My word.
And they are bringing together creatures of the woodland to try and hold off the orcish and greenskin hordes in general.
Yeah.
And man, there is just not enough good stuff I can say about this. Like, we talk about the fact that Fraser Allen has a lot of skill, but when you look at the amount of work that goes into the army that he's produced here, it's absolutely amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it?
And the thing that's really cool about this as well is that a lot of what he's done is actually quite achievable.
Yeah.
Like, nothing that he's done, a lot of it, there's some home sculpting in there and sort of a lot of stuff that's DIY, but then the rest of it is just kit bashing and occasional bits of green stuff, and then just really good paint schemes over the top of it as well. So if anybody wanted to copy what he's doing,
it's the man's vision, though.
Yeah,
it's the man's vision that just,
it's so imaginative. I mean, all of these gnomes, they're basically Games Workshop night goblins.
Yeah,
but they've been painted with red caps, which, as a folklore buff, I was very excited to see, and then just given sculpted beards, and they make perfect gnomes.
Yeah,
it's incredible. All the little ideas and concepts.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, you wait till you see the wizards, the different wizard characters. We saw a brief glimpse of them earlier, and there's something very Guillermo del Toro about that, because it's mixing arcane devices with fairy tale lore and figures.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've actually been chatting with Johnny over email about all this stuff. I can't wait to see what he's done with the orcs as well, because they'll be coming too. He's also mentioned to me that he's going to be running his own Scouring of the Shire campaign over in New Zealand. I'm like, I have to find a way to get there.
Yeah,
I need to sell family members to be a part of this.
Isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. It's such beautiful work.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Mind completely blown.
And
Johnny,
still
thank
haven't
you
seen
so
the
much,
wizards.
man. It's
the
wizards go down. Oh, that's the god of the gnomes.
It's a huge pleasure for us to be able to sit and look at these things, man. It's just incredible.
I do want to point out the wizards very quickly, because there's one specific wizard that you did pause on earlier, Justin. Not here, when we were looking at the original post.
Sam, there's so much in there that we will never find.
Hey, go back to the golden button page.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the guy. That's the wizard I wanted to point out.
Yeah, that's a Jakaro that he's done some converted work too.
No, you are wrong. That is the librarian sitting on the luggage.
Are you sure?
That is Discworld right there, sir.
It reminds me of a Jakaro weapons.
That's because it is the model of a Jakaro weapons.
It is a Jakaro weapons.
But it's the librarian who was a wizard who got turned into an orangutan in a magical accident in the library of Unseen University, and he's riding around on top of the luggage, which is made of saki and pearwood.
I like the feet at the bottom of the treasure chest.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. Right, like you ever wondered if you were going to get a golden button? It's like...
just remember to go and check out the Hagglethorn Hollow Kickstarter that is still running.
Absolutely.
Do I get a quick look at it? I think
let's look at it.
See how they're doing.
So it's currently running. That number's just rolling on up there.
Yeah. So
this is one we actually had an interview with him about.
This terrain is incredible. Yeah.
I want to play across this.
I would to have a painted set of this is like, oh my god, you so want. It just would be incredible, absolutely incredible. Ben, for your D&D series you're working on for us, man, we could try someday. We could try someday and get some of this.
One day.
I'll email it, Johnny.
Right. Next up, we have the Buckland Brewer with a Deep Wars and Shadowsea project.
Pirates.
Nice.
Yeah, so this popped up in the What Are You Painting Now thread, and I just had to bring it up because not only did I like the painting, and I love the job he's done here on Balthazar Drake, which is that captain model, but he also posted a picture of some of the work in progress pieces as well. And these kind of all come together into a large amalgamation as to why you got this golden button, because if you open that second picture and have a look at it, the amount of detail and amazing color choices that have gone to those models is just astounding. Now that sort of like the dinosaur at the back, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me. Jim.
The Ichthyosaur.
Ichthyosaur, I think that might Ichthyosaur. That's
Ichthyosaur,
it. Yeah, that's the one. I love the painting that has gone into those scales,
Yeah.
those blues and those greens and that fiery orange and red.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. And Lance was pointing out as well during the hobby hangout, when you look towards some of the other models in this collection, like for example the squid and that eel towards the bottom as well, the wonderful, beautiful blending on those models is just wonderful. And while I'm giving basically a golden button for him for painting that amazing captain, and I really love the stuff that he's got there, I would really love him to make a project showing off a lot more of them from this world.
Yes.
Showing off all these different creatures, getting into the detail about how he paints them as well, because these are just stunning. Especially since a lot of these are still white base coated. Start from scratch and show us the process you go through, because this would be amazing to see.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Squid
I had
has
to
to
go.
be my favorite from this. Just look at the transparent effect that he's managed to get there. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you imagine a squid undersea, you'll see the blue behind it with whatever light shining through it.
Yeah,
That is beyond gorgeous.
It's almost like the caustics, that ripply light effect that you get.
Yeah.
That's sort of
just under the
bioluminescence.
surface of the water.
Bioluminescence, yeah.
Well, no, the caustics is different from bioluminescence.
Okay.
Bioluminescence comes from within the actual creature itself.
Uh-huh.
Caustics is whenever the sun hits a swimming pool, okay? On the side of the swimming pool, you know
that ripple
that
effect.
ripply
Yes.
light effect, that's called caustics.
I
So-
have
Okay,
been
so-
wanting to learn how to paint that, because I think the idea of an Idoneth Deepkin army with the whole army having that effect
carbon
across
caustics
it
would
would
be
be
great.
great.
Absolutely nutty and
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Well,
yeah.
Congratulations, the Buckland Brewer. Congratulations to all of our Golden Button winners this week. Guys, remember, right? So last week we were giving away 2 Warhounds and 2 Half Moon Bay 40k Steins. Do I even
Now,
risk saying the word beer?
Just take 1 second here, Warren. So those Warhounds are for Adeptus Titanicus.
Yes. We were giving away 2 boxes of Warhounds.
Yeah.
So each of you have won a box of Warhounds and a Half Moon Bay 40k.
Yeah. Either blood
Stein.
Blood
So it's,
Angels or Ultramarines.
So we have 2 winners on YouTube. It was Paul Rist, and on tabletop it was Denzian. Remember, guys, go across and check our prizes, because there's loads of previous prizes in there. You may well have won. So go and check our prize center. It's all shiny and new and waiting for you. And let us know. And remember, this week, comment, like, subscribe, ding the dong, share with a friend.
Yeah.
Basically, give us some way to tell YouTube you're being. That's ARSEHOLES, YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Tomorrow we're going to have Jerry in the studio. We're going to do an XLBS. That's kind of like it's a podcast that we do. It's a filmed podcast, so you can either download it and listen to it, or you can come across and tune in as a backstager and watch it. We've got loads of fun stuff to talk about, and we're going to be talking a little bit about IP spread. What's our opinion on companies? Should they be focusing on getting the one game really, really right? Or are they doing the right thing by creating lots of various games? Come into Backstage tomorrow, because we'd love to hear your opinion.
Can we get Lloyd for this one?
Yes, let's do that. Because if we get Lloyd and Jerry together, we can do an extra special terrain tip. One that we've the guys have been sitting on.
Perfect.
That is a wonderful terrain tip.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, top notch. So come and check that one out. My sincere thanks to Ben, Justin, and Sam. And most of all, look, thank you to you guys. Thank you for every piece of support you give us, especially these days when YouTube and decides it's going to be weird. And for anybody that has ever joined or is considering to join Backstage and support the project that way, our sincerest thanks. We couldn't do this without you. We really couldn't. So thank you very much. Guys, have a great week of gaming. Hopefully we'll catch you tomorrow morning. Take care. Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now, and be sure to check out beastsofwar.com for the latest gaming news and gaming Let's Plays. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.